Topic 1. The Cultural Decoder, Part 1. The Invisible Wall. In the global theatre of business, English is often called the universal language. We are taught that if we master the grammar, the vocabulary, and the accent, we can lead anywhere. But for many high achievers, that belief is a trap. They find themselves speaking perfect English while their projects fall apart. Their partnerships wither and their influence vanishes. In this season of the English Oasis, we go beyond the words. We explore the global mindset, the ability to see the invisible cultural software that runs beneath every conversation. Today, we follow Anya, a woman whose greatest strength, her direct, flawless English, became the very thing that threatened to destroy her career. In the sharp, glass and steel corridors of Berlin's tech hub, Anya was a legend. She was known as the closer. As a senior project manager, she was the person you called. Anya's English wasn't just a means of communication. It was a high-precision instrument. It was sharp, surgical, and designed for one thing: impact. She lived by a code of radical transparency. In her world, if a timeline was unrealistic, you called it flawed. If a proposal lacked data, you labelled it inefficient. This brutal honesty was her brand, and she wore it like armour. She operated under the dangerous, modern assumption that, in the global business arena, clarity was the only currency that mattered. If everyone was speaking English, she reasoned, the rules were same. Anya's firm had just landed a massive tripartite contract, a legacy manufacturing conglomerate in Osaka and a logistics giant in Dubai. It was the kind of partnership that defined a career. Anya prepared for the first virtual kick-off meeting with her signature rigor. She spent 3 nights deconstructing the partner's roadmap, identifying 3 structural errors that she believed would lead to disaster. She logged into the Zoom call with a sense of mission. She wasn't there to make friends. She was there to save the project. When the grid of faces appeared on her monitor, Anya didn't waste a single second on useless pleasantries. After a 30-second introduction, she dove straight into the critique. "To be honest," she said, leaning toward the camera, her eyes cold and focused, "the current roadmap from the Osaka team is fundamentally flawed. It lacks the agility required for this phase. We need to overhaul the verification process immediately if we are to remain on schedule. In its current state, it is simply inefficient." She leaned back, waiting for the sparks of a vigorous debate or a "thank you for the honesty." Instead, she was met with a silence so heavy it felt like a weight. On one side of the screen, the Japanese team sat in a disciplined row, their faces stoic, masks of polite neutrality. Mr. Tanaka took a long, slow breath through his teeth. "We will give this serious consideration." On the other side, the partners in Dubai smiled warmly, but their responses were veiled. They spoke of seeking future alignments. Anya closed the laptop, feeling triumphant. She had been clear. She had been professional. But in the 3 weeks that followed, the project didn't just slow down. It evaporated. Emails that used to be answered in hours now took days. When the responses did arrive, they were filled with phrases like, "We are still reviewing," or "The situation is quite complex." Anya's frustration turned into a cold, creeping panic. She pushed harder, sending more direct emails, demanding binary answers and clear status updates. She thought she was being helpful by being more direct, but the harder she pushed, the further they retreated. She felt as though she was shouting into a void. It wasn't that they didn't understand her English. Their language certifications were as high as hers. It was as if she was speaking through an invisible wall. Anya was a low-context communicator. To her, the meaning was 100% in the spoken words. But she was living in a high-context world, and she was illiterate in its subtext. Her mentor finally sat her down for a reality check. "Anya," he said, his voice soft but firm, "you think you're being professional, but to them, you are a barbarian. You didn't just critique a timeline. In their eyes, you challenged the entire hierarchy of the Osaka team and insulted the hospitality of the Dubai team in front of their peers. You used the word flawed. In Berlin, that's a technical assessment. In Osaka, that is a public execution of someone's honor." Anya was stunned by this revelation. She realized she was a victim of the fluency trap. She had mastered the vocabulary of the language, but she was completely blind to the cultural software running underneath it. Her perfect English was her greatest liability. It gave her the illusion of connection while she was actually sowing the seeds of destruction. She realized that in a globalized world, the most dangerous person is the one who speaks English well but understands culture poorly. She needed a new way to see the world. Part 2. Reading the air. Anya realized that to save the project, she had to stop being a powerful project manager and start learning how to be a cultural detective. Her first task was to master the silent language of the Japanese team, a concept known as kuuki wo yomu, or reading the air. In the high-speed corridors of Berlin, the idea of reading the air sounded like a vague distraction. But in Osaka, Anya discovered it was a fundamental survival skill. She uncovered a truth polar opposite of everything she had been taught. In high-context cultures, the responsibility for communication lies with the listener, not the speaker. You are expected to hear 1 and understand 10. Anya went back to the video recordings of her first meetings, but this time she muted the audio entirely. She watched the body language of Mr. Tanaka and his team with the eyes of an engineer searching for a bug in a complex piece of code. She noticed that every time she had used a direct word, words like wrong, failure, or unacceptable, there was a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the room. It was a slight tilt of the head, a downward glance, or a sharp, quiet intake of breath through the teeth. These weren't just idle gestures. They were signals of discomfort. When Mr. Tanaka had said, "It is very difficult," Anya had previously interpreted it as a technical hurdle. Now, she finally held the decoder key. In the traditional business world of Japan, "it is very difficult" was often a polite, final, and absolute way of saying no. Anya had been blind to this. Anya realized she had been a victim of her own upgraders, those intensifying words like totally, absolutely, and completely to emphasize her points. To her, this was a sign of conviction, but through her new lens, she saw that to her partners, these words sounded like a lack of emotional self-control. She was essentially shouting at them with her adjectives. She needed to learn the art of the downgrader, the words that soften the blow of a message. She spent an entire week practicing a way that felt agonizingly slow. She was learning to wrap her hard truths in layers of soft silk. She replaced "this is wrong" with "I am wondering if there might be another perspective." She replaced "we must change this immediately" with "perhaps we could explore some gradual adjustments to better align with the long-term goals of both parties." The first test of this soft English style came during a follow-up call. Anya sat in her office, her heart pounding against her ribs. She took a deep, steadying breath. "Mr. Tanaka," she began, "I have been reflecting deeply on our previous discussion. I realize that my understanding of your local verification process may be incomplete. Could you help me understand the specific challenges your team is facing so that we might support you in the most effective way possible?" The silence followed. For the first time, Mr. Tanaka began to speak more than 3 sentences at a time. He shared deep insights into a supply chain issue that Anya hadn't even considered. Because she had removed the blame from her language, he finally felt safe enough to share the truth. Anya was beginning to understand that precision is often less important than harmony. By intentionally using imprecise language, she was actually gathering more accurate data. She was finally starting to see the subtext beneath the words. The most important information in an international meeting is often the thing that is not said at all. However, the wall with Dubai remained firmly in place. She had learned how to read the silence, but she still hadn't learned how to build trust. Her low-context brain was still struggling with the value of wasted time. Part 3. The coffee is the work. While Anya was beginning to navigate the silent nuances of Osaka, she faced a completely different wall with the logistics team in Dubai. In Berlin, Anya's professional life was built on a task-based trust model. You trusted someone because they were competent and delivered high-quality results. Trust was a byproduct of work. But her partners in Dubai operated on a relationship-based model. They didn't care about Gantt charts if they didn't know who she was as a person. Anya had been consistently frustrated by what she privately called the 20-minute waste. Meetings began with long conversations about family, the weather, and the quality of coffee. Anya would sit there, her eyes darting to the clock, her finger hovering over the next slide button, waiting for the real work to start. She felt a sudden chill. Her mentor's voice echoed, "Anya, in the Middle East, the coffee is the work. If you skip the coffee, you skip the trust. They are checking your character. If they don't trust the person, they will never trust the project. Anya decided to perform a radical experiment. She decided to lean into the waste. In her next call with the Dubai team, she didn't even open her presentation. When Mr. Al-Mansouri asked about her weekend, she told a story about hiking in the Bavarian Alps. She described the scent of the pine trees and the sound of the wind. Then she turned the question back to him, asking about local festivities. The 20-minute waste stretched into 40 minutes. Anya felt her internal efficiency clock screaming, but she stayed present. She listened to stories of his grandfather's pearl diving days. She realized these weren't distractions. They were investment cycles. By sharing her personal narrative, she was giving them the data of her integrity. Suddenly, the tone shifted. Mr. Al-Mansouri smiled and said, "Anya, I see you understand our heart. Regarding that logistics bottleneck, don't worry about it. Consider it resolved." A problem that she had spent 3 weeks trying to solve through direct emails was solved in 30 seconds over a conversation about mountain hiking and coffee. She realized that her direct English had been building walls of suspicion, while her relational English was building bridges of loyalty and mutual respect. She was learning to switch between linear time, where every second must be spent on a task, and multi-active time, where time is spent on people. She was becoming a cultural diplomat. She had finally decoded the Dubai secret. The shortest distance between 2 points in business isn't a straight line. It's a shared story. Part 4. The master of subtext. By the final phase of the project, Anya's transformation was complete. She had developed what she called a dual-track brain to navigate different environments. When she spoke with her technical team in Berlin, she remained the sharp leader they expected. But in global calls, her cultural decoder kicked in automatically. She had stopped seeing English as a rigid cage of rules and started seeing it as a flexible bridge that could be tuned to different frequencies. She had mastered inclusive inquiry. In the past, she would have asked, "Does everyone agree?" which she now understood was dangerous in many cultures. Instead, she learned to ask, "What are the potential challenges that might arise if we move in this direction?" This shift allowed partners to point out flaws safely. It gave them the linguistic cover to protect harmony, while still giving Anya the critical information she needed. The project became a landmark victory for her firm. The manufacturing process in Osaka was streamlined. The logistics network in Dubai was expanded because Mr. Al-Mansouri treated Anya as a trusted partner. When the project was finalized, the partners in Osaka sent her a handwritten letter of gratitude. Anya looked back at her old self and realized how close she came to failure. Her greatest liability hadn't been her accent or grammar. It was her cultural arrogance. She had assumed her way of communicating was the only correct way. She had finally achieved the highest level of fluency, the global mindset. This isn't just about speaking. It's about knowing when to be direct or circular. She had stopped being a native speaker of a language and became a native speaker of the context. She was finally able to hear what wasn't said. Anya's transformation didn't just save a project, it saved her career. And that is the heart of what we do here at the English Oasis. If you found Anya's journey helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to join our community of global leaders. We believe that English is more than just grammar. It's about influence, culture, and mastery. Don't miss our upcoming episodes in Season 3. Give this video a thumbs up if you've ever had to read the air in a meeting. It helps the algorithm show this story to other professionals. Anya's journey is a reminder that in global leadership, your English is only as strong as your ability to adapt it. Language is the hardware. Culture is the software. The Global Mindset Challenge. Look back at your last 3 professional misunderstandings. Was it really a language problem, or was it a context problem? Did you use an upgrader when you should have used a hedge? Did you skip the relationship to get to the task? Join the conversation in the comments below. This concludes Topic 1, the cultural decoder. In our next episode, we meet Hiro, the virtual visionary, who must learn how to command presence and build trust through a digital screen across 15 time zones. Stay global, stay curious, and keep building your oasis.